It's Saturday here on Pagan Perspective. I'm your Saturday host, Brendan, and this week we are talking about paganism, doesn't need to be a religion, and whether or not you need to worship gods. So I'm going to post both the questions below. One comes from Dikka, and the other one comes from, let me just bring it up, who sees who? Dikka's question is really about paganism, or being a pagan without religion, and who sees who's question is really about being an atheist, not really working with gods at all, but still being a pagan. So let's start with a bit of Dikka, and I suppose it also answers who sees who's question as well. So, quick googly search for religion and what it actually is, and it brought up a piece from the sociologist Durkheim, which I remember reading when I was doing social work so many years ago, which I never completed because another story. But anyway, in his seminal book, The Elementary Forms of the Religious Life, he defines religion as a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things. It goes on to say by sacred things he meant things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite into a single moral community called a church. All those who for all those who adhere to them. Sacred things are not, however, limited to gods or spirits. On the contrary, a sacred thing can be a rock, a tree, a spring, a pebble, a piece of wood, a house, in a word, anything can be sacred. Religious beliefs, myths, dogmas, and legends are the representations that express the nature of these sacred things and the virtues and powers which are attributed to them. I like that. That is how I would really view this. And in answering kind of both questions here, actually more kind of who sees who, to be honest, in the first part is really, you can be pagan and you can be atheist, and you don't need to work with gods. It's really about holding sacredness and reverence for nature and the world around you itself. And knowing that, for me personally, in my practice, everything is a god. I am a god. My bed is a god. This camera is a god. It's really that everything has that divine energy about it, and divine nature, and holding the reverence and sacredness for all of that, and working with that practice, and weaving that into everyday life. And in answering Dikka's question, I suppose, for me, there is that sense that I am a religious pagan, and I don't know how separating those really works. Being a pagan, you are being religious in the sense that you hold sacredness and reverence for nature itself. And I suppose in the greater context of that word, paganism is a nature-based religion. Nature being the sacred thing that we hold divine, and with reverence, and will worship, and lay our lives before. And really for me, it's that thing that's been there supporting me my whole entire life, that unspoken bond and connection and contract with this divine existence around me, and acknowledging that I am part of this existence and a product of this existence, and holding reverence for myself, and adoring and worshipping myself as a being of divinity and sacredness and reverence. I don't know, that kind of was my massive, big, impact, power, wow opinion. I've watched everyone's videos this week, and so much is covered through all of them. I just mainly found some other explanations and really breakdowns of what religion was considered. So on the BBC website, they talk about religion can be explained as a set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe, especially when considered as a creation of a superhuman agency or agencies, usually involving devotional and ritual observances, and often containing a moral code governing the conduct of human affairs. And then in this section it has a little bit on paganism, and their definition is contemporary religions usually based on the reverence for nature. on the Merriam-Webster website. The first two meanings are really in relationship to worshipping a god or gods. But then it goes into a personal set or institutionalized set of religious attitudes, beliefs, and practices. It also has a meaning a cause, principle, or system of beliefs held with ardor and faith. So really, as long as you come in with this with understanding the sacredness and weight of what you're really working and committing to, it doesn't need to be a god or a goddess or a divine being. It is the reverence for nature and the cycles of existence, of life, of death, of rebirth, the seasonal shifts, really all of that. You can go through just being a filthy, dirty pagan going around dancing naked in the woods, and that's perfectly acceptable. You can be that corporate witch in the city that has their little altar set up on their work desk, which may be to a god. It may just be a beautiful little Zen garden that is a connection to nature. That's acceptable. It really flows back to a few weeks ago when we had the question about gender and place in religion. There is more place here for everyone. You don't need to worship gods to be considered a pagan. And Megan really spoke about it and touched on it about labels. And Rich constantly speaks about them being labels are just for soup cans. But for me, really, labels are... I don't have them so much for myself. It's more actually for other people, so that when people do show interest or ask me questions about what my practices and beliefs are, I can give them keywords that they can type into Google or any search engine and find information. They can go out and do research. They may find books. They may find other information, blog journals, Tumblr pages, YouTube videos. It gives them a source to search out further in the universe. But yes, I will post the links to the articles, well, the little links on Wikipedia and the BBC website and everything in the description below, but I think I addressed everything in here, and if I haven't, it's probably been addressed somewhere else in the week here, but I really summed up everything. For me, like, personally, I work with a ton of gods. I work with a ton of, like, reverence for nature. I work with elementals. I work with plant spirits. A lot of reverence and sacredness. I may not have a fully, like, structured, disciplined practice, but I constantly sing to things and hold reverence and honor for things and wish blessings upon dead things, and yeah, it's just kind of a way of life for me, really. And I'm actively engaging the sacredness and reverence for nature around me. And I think that is what my paganism is, and I think that is for a lot of people and can identify with that. So it's really about what is your paganism and who are you and what is your place in all of this, and are you going to go dance with gods? Are you going to go dance with tree spirits? Are you just going to practice magic and do spells and all of that? But it comes down to you, really. No one has any overarching authority on what your practice is. You are your own spiritual authority in all of this, and if it works for you, it works for you. But that's it for this week. Next week's going to be quite interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. There may be costumes, so hint and pre-warning there. Trying to get things together. I may need to keep the beard for a little bit longer for next week, but for now, much love and blessings, and you all have a lovely weekend, and to anyone who celebrates it, a lovely Valentine's Day. I personally will probably be eating a punnet of ice cream and having my own dinner and just being wonderful and amazing and, you know, general life. Yay, little priest of Eros over here. But yeah, much love and blessings, and blessed be. Mwah.